Good evening, everyone. You know, in good stead, I was awaiting more attendees, but so far it seems like we have only 3 persons. We have only 3 persons online. There was someone else, what's her name, Maduri? I guess she's having some connection problem. But what we're gonna do, I'm gonna start the class and it's gonna be recorded. For those who could not make this evening class, then they will be pointed to the recording so they can catch up. Is that okay with everyone? We'll go ahead and start. Can you guys hear me? Can put up your hand?
Yes, sir. Hearing you clearly.
Okay, I mean, give the thumbs up, not really raise your hand. Thumbs up, sir. Thumbs up is right there in the emoji. Here are the reactions. All right, for this evening, just for this evening, I'm gonna start my video so you guys can know who is speaking to you. But for classes, normally I don't need to be doing a class while the video is on. All right, there's a lot of bandwidth, so try not to use the video. I don't have to. All right. So for the moment, I'm just going to introduce myself again, reintroduce myself for those who weren't at the orientation. Okay, well, my camera is working. Okay. The background is my library, okay? It's my library of food. All right? So don't pay attention to the background. All right, so this is Michael Dawkins right here speaking to you. I have been working in the IT industry for a long time. I would say thousands of years. All right, I've been since 1994. Well, I first delved into IT in 1992, and I started doing programming. And then soon after, I was put into technical support, where I would have to fix computers, install computers, upgrade computers, fix printers, fix monitors, install mouse. Back in the days, you didn't have plug and play mice, I should say. So what would happen, we would have to do jumper the card. Mr. Dixon, Ron Dixon. Hello? Yeah, so we'd use jumper to jumper the cards and to install mouse and keyboard and such the likes. We don't do that anymore. We just put them in the USB port and they work. And they work perfectly well. Thank God for Windows and those other manufacturers and everybody. We don't have to do all of those stuff anymore. So it's from then. All right. I did some time at Sandals, and I'm now at the Holiday Inn Resort, and I'm a part-time instructor. Okay. All right. So that's my introduction. Okay, so we are going to start class. So I'm going to share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Excellent. All right, so I must say that this course, for those who have no knowledge, it will enlighten you and it will bring forth knowledge that you didn't have, and a lot of understanding. I think it's a very good course, to be honest, for those who are starting for the first time. One of the things is I always say you have to read ahead and read afterwards and practice, talk about what you read, do some researches on your own so you can build your own understanding. All right? I am here to lead the course. Doesn't mean that I know everything. I won't have all the answers, but what I will do is share as much information as I have, and I will also share some of my experiences. All right? You can ask any question you have. I will give you the best answer I have. If I don't, I will let you know. And then you guys can research it and come back to me and tell me that I was incorrect. I'm perfectly okay with that. I just want you guys to research. All right? The course is 16 weeks. All right? You will have to complete a test for every chapter. All right? Every chapter you'll do a test. I will submit to you guys next class the timetable or the schedule, the course schedule. We're expected to complete the course, barring that we don't have any delay, obstacle throughout our allotted time. We're expected to complete the course December 2, 2021. All right. I mentioned at the orientation that we will have multiple final exams, and we will have checkpoint exams, and we will have certification checkpoints also. All right, throughout the course. We will meet in the classroom face-to-face a couple of times, because for those persons who don't have hands-on knowledge of what the components of the computer are, or to dismantle and to rebuild a computer, we'll have to meet in the classroom to do that. So we'll have to disassemble and assemble the PC, and that we will do face-to-face. All right. Further down in the course, we'll have to meet face-to-face to do some other networking stuff and troubleshooting. All right. So it won't be a lot of face-to-face. And the exam, I'm not sure what will happen based on this COVID or this Delta variant. Don't know what the government is going to say, but it's best that we could, at the end of the course for the exams, we meet face to face. So, normally for the exam, I'll do like some preparation, some face-to-face preparation, get you guys ready for the exam. So on exam day, you don't feel like, well, you're lost. All right? Because you're going to be sitting around the desk and doing some stuff. All right? It's important that when the quiz is, I normally turn on the quiz on a Wednesday. For each, let me say quiz. When I say quiz, I'm talking about the end of chapter exam. It is turned on a Wednesday, and it will be turned off at midnight on a Sunday. Midnight on a Sunday. Meaning that you have all those days to complete the quiz. The quiz is sometimes 1 hour, sometimes 2 hours, it's sometimes 30 questions, 31 questions, and so forth. All right? So once the chapter is done, the quiz will be turned on. Sometimes 2 quizzes will be on based on the time that we complete the chapter. Okay? And you will be asked to complete the quiz so that we can move forward. As I see, the time frame has been allotted, and we have to complete the course by then. All right? And even though it's not a rush, we still have to complete the course by then, because after a period of time, you find that some of your students will feel like, boy, this is a whole lot. And time-wise, you can't make it to do the reading and researching. It's becoming overwhelming, and you feel like you want to give up. But I would suggest you don't give up, because the end is going to come. but we have to just work together so that we can complete this course on time, everybody. And my thing is, no one will be left behind. And everybody will complete the course and everybody will be successful. The final exam pass mark is 75. All right? 70. I'm sorry, the final is 70. The final exam pass mark is 70. All right? My pass mark is 80. So when you do your quiz, you have to get 80%. All chapter, because all marks are tallied and averaged and contributes to your final score, whether you will be given the certification or not, the certificate or not. You cannot be absent for more than 3 classes. If you're absent for more than 3 classes, ISCO will ask you, the system is not going to have you doing the quiz, meaning if you miss 3 quizzes, you will be, Cisco will put your name to say redo the course. All right, and you don't want to do that. So my suggestion is be at the class, go for the recordings, ask questions, and so forth. I will create a WhatsApp group as soon as I have all the names of everyone, and so we can communicate. All right, you can communicate with me on WhatsApp anytime at all. Doesn't mean that I will be able to answer you every time, anytime, but I'll answer you as soon as I can. But send the message just the same. All right, any question? Any question?
Yes, sir, I have a question. You mentioned something about being absent. Could you repeat what that entails?
Okay, right. So if you are absent more than 3 times, you stand the chance of, Cisco asking you. Well, let me not say it that way. If you miss more than 3 quiz exam by the end of the course, if you are short 3 exams, you will be asked to resit the course. Do you understand? It's 14 chapters, 16 weeks. You have to complete all chapters.
Okay, thank you. I understand.
All right? 14 chapters, 16 weeks. Any question, anyone? So as I said, now the quiz need to be completed. I will open the quiz on a Wednesday night or Thursday. It will not be after the Thursday. So it's either a Wednesday or a Thursday. Well, most times it is on a Thursday night. I'm sorry, Thursday or Friday. I'm sorry when I say Wednesday. It's Thursday or Friday. Reason being is Thursday is the last class for the week. So on a Thursday night to Friday, it will be open. And then you will have until Sunday midnight to complete your quiz. Everybody get that?
Sure. Yes, sir.
Okay, so, and it is good to write notes. All right? I want you guys to also log in to your Moodle account for each class, or as much as possible can, because this institution also use it as a means of recording your participation, not only here. Sometimes you'll be given assignment, and the assignment will require you to upload your assignment to Moodle. So everyone should ensure that they can log into the HCIT platform, which is a Moodle platform that Mr. Clayton was demonstrating on the day of orientation. And also, you guys should get a login. You should have received your login, your invitation to Cisco, to NetAcad. And you also need to log into your NetAcad every time. You understand? Especially during class time. I may not be, and I will say this, I may not be doing classes from NetAcad every time. Sometimes I'll be using the PowerPoint, like you see over on screen. And sometimes I'll be doing it from the Academy's website. However, we will do the quizzes, the in-chapter quizzes from the Academy each evenings. So we want you guys to ensure that you can log in. Did everybody get their login? Did everybody get their invitation and they are unregistered to the Cisco NetAcad?
Yes, I did. I'm logging in right now.
Yes, sir, I did, but I have an issue with the website.
You having an issue with the website? What kind of issue?
So, let me see if I can find it. Yes, the hard website. It shows a banner or ad for Easter break, and I can't seem to come up with it.
All right. Okay. Because if you have not logged in,
I'm going to log out and then log back in and see if it comes up again.
okay, give me a moment, please. All right, sorry about the class. So you say you have logged into your Moodle classroom? Hello?
Yes, that's right. I'm going to log.
All right, so I'm not hearing you clearly. Okay, so all right, so you can see the slide that says Introduction to Personal Computer. Oh, one more thing, class. The class begins at 5:30 in the evening, 5:30 sharp, and it ends at 8:30 p.m. All right? Even though we'll be doing the recording, I encourage everyone to be at the class. All right? Everyone to be at the class. All right, so 5:30, not 6 p.m., 5:30 each Tuesdays and Thursdays. Okay? Any more questions? We're going to begin now. All right, personal computers. Can anyone in the classroom, as a matter of fact, not anyone, I'm going to ask each and everyone to just give me an idea of your knowledge of personal computer and the components or the hardware, the parts, all right, that makes up the computer, any knowledge that you have of the computer. And I'm going to start with the first person on my screen is Kareem Maduri. Go ahead and unmute and just tell me one thing you know, anything at all you know about.
Where am I in the hot seat first? All right, no problem. Hardware, I guess that would have to deal with like the physical, the tangible parts of a computer. So we have that would include like the monitor, keyboard, mouse, CPU, stuff like that,
Uh-huh.
and how it's all connected to process. We have like the memory, stuff like those. I believe that's the hardware, physical parts.
Okay. So you have the memory, you have the motherboard, yep, and you said the
Yeah, you
CPU,
have your,
keyboard and mouse, eh?
yes, yeah, stuff like those, like the actual tangible stuff. Yeah.
Okay. What about Tenley? Tenley Innis.
All right, sir. So basically, it would be the same definition, physical parts of a computer, which would include like the hard drive, graphic cards, sound cards, and so forth.
Okay. And Ladine.
So basically, it's the anything you can physically handle to you know run on the machine, including the local storage, the RAM, and the input
Hello?
device as well.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Tevin.
All right, thank you very much.
Alicia, let me hear. You can go ahead and mute your mic, Tevin.
All right, no problem.
Alicia, go ahead.
So you can also classify the power supply, the disk drive, and the hardware disk drive as a hardware, computer hardware.
So you're talking about the disk drive. Right, talking about the power
Yes.
supply. Right.
Yes.
Those are also hardware components that makes up the PC. All right. And Kevin, you just joined. I'm going to ask you to tell me anything you know about the hardware, physical components of the computer.
All right, the hardware are things that you can see and touch.
Okay.
Do you like?
Can you name
Sorry.
any hardware of the computer that you are familiar with?
The keyboard,
Uh-huh.
the monitor,
Monitor. Uh-huh.
the mouse,
Right.
speakers, if they have attached speakers or not built in.
Okay. All right. Mr. Rowan Dixon.
Yes, sir. So those um would be physical stuff would be like what you could touch, actually, like the power supplies, the keyboard, the motherboard, would be a CD, ROM, etc., or a floppy disk drive, and so forth.
Okay. Cool. Oh, Mr. Dixon, is your father also Rowan Dixon? Just ask him.
No, sir.
All right, so everybody have an idea what we talk about when we say the hardware of the personal computer. So in this chapter, all right, we have sections and we have objectives. All right, we talk about the personal computers. We will explain how to keep personal computer components safe. We will explain and attempt to explain components in a computer. We explain electrical and ESD safety. Then we talk about components. We explain the features and function of each component. We'll describe the case and the power supply. Motherboards, CPUs, we'll explain the different type of memories. Describe adapter cards and expansion slots. We'll describe hard disk drives and SSDs. All right. We talk about the optical storage devices. Talk about the ports, different ports, the different cables and the adapters. Talk about input devices and output devices, and then we'll move into disassembling the computer, and that is what we will do face to face. We'll do that in class, and we'll explain the features and function of each component in the toolkit. All right?
All right, when we'll be doing that in class?
All right, whenever we're going to do that, I will tell you like the week before, so you can prepare.
Okay, no problem.
All right? So electrical devices, talking about, you know that the computer uses electrical power. You understand? And do we know that electrical power is divided into two categories or two groups, or let me say two categories, right? Do you know the different category, different type of electricity, or the different type of current? Let me say it that way. Do you know the different type of current?
We should take notes of this that is on the screen right now.
I will be sending the slides. I'm going to create a WhatsApp group afterwards, and I'm going to send the slides to you. I will also post the slides on Moodle. So it's up to you if you want to take notes or you want to wait on the slides.
All right, it's okay if I wait on the slides. So when I get the slides, I could just take the notes from that.
Could you repeat?
When I get the slides, that would be the notes. I could take it down or study from the phone. Correct?
Okay. Give me a moment. All right, so can you tell me the different type of current that we have working today or using today in everyday life?
So that would be direct current and alternating current.
Right, so it will be direct current, which is which is DC, and you will have alternating current, which is AC. All right, so when you see AC adapters, you will know what AC stands for. It stands for alternating current. Alternating current adapters are manufactured for specific laptops. All right. Electrical devices have certain power requirements. Every electrical device have power requirements. So power has to be talking about the wattage, and it also talk about what amount of current that is required, and current also has to do with the ampere. All right. So when you look at an adapter, you will, if you take up an adapter, even your tablet or your laptop adapter, you will know that it will say 19 volts. It will say either 1.5 or 0.5 amps or milliamps, something like that. And it will tell you how much watt, like if it is 50 watt, 100 watt, and so forth. All right. All those are calculation. Each electrical device have certain power requirements. AC adapters for laptops are the same. All right, exchanging. So one of the things you don't want to do is to take a laptop from a different device without inspecting or observing the power requirements, and then just plug it into your laptop. It will damage it. Okay? And you need to know that your adapter is an external power supply. Okay, so when you plug it in, it is going to feed the current straight from that port onto your motherboard. And if the power is incorrect, then it will damage your laptop. So you have to take note of that. All right. Exchanging adapters with different type of laptop or device may cause damage to both AC adapter and laptop, which I just explained. Some printers, such as power supply, some printer parts such as power supplies, and some computers also. By the way, I must say that if you look at your power supply in a computer, you will see it come with either 300 watt, 250 watt, 500 watt, 800 watt, 450 watt. That wattage is telling the amount of power that it can give out. So that when you add up all the components, all the wattage of the power requirements of the components that are in the computer, it should not be above the amount that is on the power supply. Okay? So you tend to want to buy a power supply that is fitting for the components, the total wattage of the components that is in your computer. Some CPUs use higher wattage than some. Some computers require more power than some based on what it is built for and the components that are there. Likewise, printers, all right, and any other electric devices, that's how it is. All right, and some use more voltage than some. So what I want you guys to do is to inspect multiple adapters and look at the voltage, and you will know that the voltage differs from laptop or from manufacturer to manufacturer. All right? So that is something that you need to pay attention to. All right? All right, you check the manual each time when it's concerned as it relating to printer. All right, ESD. As a matter of fact, is there any questions to talk about the adapters? And I probably should explain this in the beginning, that when you plug your computer, or not, let me not say computer, when you plug, yes, either way, when you plug your computer or your tablet or your laptop, even your phone, into the power outlet at your house, you are plugging it into AC current, alternating current. However, those devices don't use alternating current. Those devices use direct current, DC, all right? And as such, that's why it has an adapter. It is built with a transformer, and that transformer will convert the alternating current to direct current. So that is why you have an adapter, what we call a power supply. It converts it, step it down from 120 volt to the voltage that is required by the device, and to the required wattage or power requirement that is required by the device. So that adapter does all of that. All right. So that one of the main reason that you guys cannot afford to operate with different adapters to plug into your device, else it will else what will happen is that you will damage your device. All right. Electrostatic discharge. All right. Electrostatic discharge, ESD. All right. And this occurs when there is a buildup of an electric charge that exists on a surface which comes into contact with another differently charged surface. So take, for instance, you know that the human body consists of electrical charge, right? Do we all know that?
Right, I'm aware of that.
Okay.
Yes.
So what happened is you have electrical charge that is built up, that is in your body currently all the time. All right? If you want to know, you put your hand close to one of those old TV. Sometimes even these flat screens, and you see that the ear and stand up, or you might hear it going, it crackles. All right? And it's just to tell you that there's a build-up of electric charge. And when it comes into another, comes in contact with another surface with a different charge, then that's what happens. And when it happens like that with your computer, the components in your computer, then you can damage those computer. All right. So ESD can cause damage to computer equipment if not discharged properly. You know, at least 3,000 volts of static electricity must build up before a person can feel ESD. All right. So if you notice, whenever you feel ESD, no, you don't need to ask how much voltage build up, because it is 3,000 volts of static electricity must build up before you can feel it. You understand? No, there are ways, and like I said, if you just open your computer, or not even say open your computer, say you buy a component from the computer store, you probably buy a motherboard or a video card or a network card. And if you notice, they are always packaged in a particular bag, you know. It's kind of a shiny bag that is plastic and shiny, and it is closed. You notice that bag is an anti-static bag. What that bag does is to discharge all the um, electrostatic charge that is that when it comes in contact with, it discharges it, so it does not damage the equipment. The component will not be damaged or will not be charged and then get damaged by when you come in contact with it. All right, or if you put it down on another electrically charged surface once it is in that bag. All right, so when you take those out of the bag, you also have to be careful that you are not carrying too much charge. And you're gonna say, sir, how do we know if we are carrying too much charge or anything like that? You don't know these things. I don't even know it myself, because we already are aware, which I explained, that we are carrying electric charge. So it is always there. I can't tell you what amount is there at the moment. So the recommendation is not to handle these devices just like that. You need to get yourself discharged of that electrostatic charge. You need to get yourself discharged, and doing that, you do it in more than ways it can be done. So if you have opened the computer, you want to just hold your hand onto the frame of the computer for a couple of seconds so that you and the computer can be at the same charge. All right? And so that you're basically discharging, equating yourself with the computer. Now, if you are taking something from the bag, right, you want to probably hold on to something else, or you want to use the anti-static mat, or you want to use the wristband, anti-static wristband, so that you can, get rid of those static charges, so that when you handle the device or the component, it will not be damaged. All right, so we follow these recommendations to prevent ESD, and ESD is electrostatic discharge. Keep all components in anti-static bags until you are ready to install them. Use grounded mats on workbenches. So when you're working with these stuff, for those who aspire to be service technician, repair technician, PC technician, you must have in your arsenal or your toolkit, your super toolkit, you must have grounded mats. All right. Use grounded floor mats in the work area. So also where you're walking, you want to have grounded mats, rubber mats, basically rubber mats, that are insulated. For if you should go to some server room, some computer areas, you notice there's some tiles on the ground, are plastic tiles. those are anti-static tiles. All right, use anti-static wrist straps when working inside computers. All right, so when you buy an anti-static wrist work mat or mat, most times it comes with a wristband or a wrist strap. All right, any question, class? Any questions?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right. First up, we're going to look at the cases. All right. This evening, we are going to move at a not very slow, but at a pace that we get into the groove. We pick up the pace as we move further. All right. As soon as the guys get comfortable with the terms and so on, then the pace, you will notice the pace will be moving a little bit up. All right. The case of the computer. The case of the computer houses the internal components such as the power supply, that's we mentioned, the motherboard, we mentioned, the CPU, which is the central processing unit, or we call it the processor. All right. I'll make sure correct anybody that uses this word when you talk about the entire computer. You say the CPU. Correction, is not the CPU. All right. That is what they call the computer, and it contains the CPU, which is the central processing unit. You talk about the memory, disk drives, and assorted adapter cards. When we're talking about case, one thing going to come to mind is form factor. You will hear the term form factor. Can anybody give me or tell me something about the form factor? Anybody at all? Anybody? It's just a short question. You don't have to correct or anything like that. In this class, you don't have to be correct when you answer questions because you're going to get the answer anyway.
Sir, form factor that are style, nature, design the computer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You might not say it in a technical way, but that's what it is. It's the design, the style, the design, and the look. You know, when I say style, the look, the design of the case. You understand? So you are correct. The term form factor refers to the physical design and look of a case. All right, common desktop computers are available in form factors, different form factors, and here are some of them. You have the horizontal case, and here it is on my screen. I'm pointing. Can I see my mouse moving?
Yes, I'm seeing it.
All right, so this is the horizontal form factor. This is the oldest style, or we say probably the oldest style. It's not, it's still being used in different form factor. And we have the full-size tower. And this is what we use to after this one here. This is, you'd say, it's not the oldest, but it comes around right after the horizontal. So you have the full-size tower. Then we have the compact tower, which is smaller version of the full-size tower. Here it is. That's what my mouse moving on. And then we have the all-in-one, wherein, can anybody tell me the all-in-one? What? Why is it all-in-one?
The CPU is where the CPU is housed is also built into the monitor.
Correct. So you have the CPU, you have the monitor, you have the hard drive, you have the ports, the memory, they are all the network cards, the adapter cards, they are all built in one. So that's why it's called all-in-one, or for short, you might see AIO. All right. So what you need to know is that many manufacturers, case manufacturers, may have their own naming conventions when you talk about cases. So you have some of them call it super tower, full tower, tower, mid tower, mini tower, cube case, and more. All right, but these are the popular ones that I'm talking about here: the horizontal, full size, compact, all in one. Get yourself familiar with the size. We're going to go into the different form factors now. Computers use a power supply, and the power supply converts AC power to a low voltage DC power required by the internal components. Desktop computer power supply form factors include, so you have the advanced technology, short they call it AT, and this is the original power supply for when it says legacy computers, we're talking about old computers. Most of you guys would not know what an AT power supply looks like. Most of you in this class will not know what it looks like. All right, but that is the older or the oldest. I don't want to say the oldest, but is yeah, as it comes as it relates to PC, that will be the oldest power supply. All right. Then you have the AT extended. So it will be same advanced technology extended. It's the updated version of the AT power supply. And I will tell you, the difference with the AT power supply is that when Microsoft rolled out Windows, we were also still using the AT power supply, and it works fine. But, you know, as time progressed, technology moved forward, and Microsoft put into Windows the ability to shut off the computer. And that will require the ATX. That will require the ATX. It will require the ATX power supply. So when Windows, the updated version of Windows 95, for those who know it, was released, it was released with the ATX option, the option to shut down the computer. So when you click shut down, the computer will shut off the computer. The software will shut off the computer, bam, just like it is doing now. When you hit the option shut down, the computer goes straight off. In earlier times with the AT power supply, when you, in Windows 95, when you click shut down, it will shut down Windows only. And it will come to a point where Windows is shut down, and it will tell you, you may turn off the computer. So you will have to turn it off. All right, so in the event of the ATX, that was a built-in switch that was controlled by the operating system, which tells it to power off the computer. All right, then you have ATX 12 volts. All right, originally the ATX 12 volt, the most common power supply in the market today, still being used. That's what you guys used to. So it will come with a broader end and a smaller end, or maybe multiple smaller ends, which are 12 volts in. And what it does is, because the processors today are more powerful, they take a little power, draw more power from the power supply, then that 12 volt is there to provide power directly to the power supply. Sorry, not to the power supply, to the processor. All right, so that's what the ATX 12 volt. Then you have the EPS 12 volt, originally designed for network servers. So servers of the time and coming into now, even today, but then we use the EPS 12 volt, all right? Because then you would require a bigger processor. I mean, let me not say a bigger, a more powerful processor, all right? And because it requires a more powerful processor, that's where the 12 volt comes from, all right? So originally designed for network servers, but is now commonly used in high-end desktop. We're talking about gaming computers and computers that have a lot of power, like super desktop computers, right? So those are, you will find those power supply in those computers. All right, and that is a picture of a power supply right there. All right, Power supply connectors. All right, so these are some of the connectors that you will see that's stranded off the power supply. And you have some power supply that they comes in module. They will come in module wherein the power supply cables are packaged differently, and you will have to put them onto the power supply and also attach them onto the motherboard. You understand, the most common power supply, desktop power supply, the cables are already attached, built onto the power supply, and you only need to attach it to the motherboard in the respective areas. Power supply includes several different connectors. They are used to power various internal components, such as the main board, or we call it the motherboard, and the disk drives. All right, so the examples there of the 20-pin or 24-pin slotted connector. All right, you have so there are some connectors that are there. So you have the SATA keyed connector, the Molex, the Berg connector, 4-pin to 8-pin connector, which is the auxiliary power, which is the 12 volt, which I tell you about. You have the 6/8-pin PCI Express power connector. All right, so we're going to look at each connector individually. All right, the different connectors in power supply also provide different voltages. The most common voltage supply are 3.3 volts, the 5 volts, and the 12 volts. Those are the most common output cables or connectors. All right, the 3.3 volt and the 5 volt supplies are typically used by the digital circuits. All right, and the 12 volt supplies used to run motors in the disk drive and fan. Power supplies can also be single rail and dual rail or multi-rail. All right, a rail is a printed circuit board inside the power supply, and to which external cables are connected to. So you call it the control board. All right, and take note, a computer can tolerate slight fluctuation in power, but a significant deviation can cause the power supply to fail. All right, so what that means, based on our power supply is built, it has a transformer, it has a capacitor that holds the current temporarily, and what it does, if there's a fluctuation, it can tolerate that. But if it's a big jolt, then the power supply may die. Sometimes it doesn't, but it might just shut off. And then the computer shut off, you might end up lose data. All right. We are gonna go to the connectors soon. Don't worry, we're gonna get to the connectors and the different parts. All right. The motherboard. Can anybody tell me why it is called the motherboard?
That's where all the components are connected to.
It is the component that it is the board that all the components are connected to. That's what you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's what you call it, the motherboard. Anybody else? Anybody else? Come on, guys. Remember, you can't be wrong,
Is it because it's responsible for like for carrying to receiving and carrying information to where it needs to be in the functioning of the computer?
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's like the circuit board, that central part where everything is connected. Yeah.
Okay.
This is the most, like, it's the most crucial part of the system.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? All right. So the motherboard, we say it is the backbone of the computer. Without the motherboard, you don't have anything. All right. Without the motherboard is critical. As I don't quite remember the person said, is it crucial? But it is crucial. It's very important because everything is connected to the motherboard. The processor and the motherboard is also called the main board. And the reason it's called the main board because it have smaller boards inside the computer that we call the data boards. All right? For some strange reason, people who name these things, they are biased because they don't have anything they call the son or the father board. It's just motherboard or data board. But it's okay. We don't have any problem with that. So you'll find that the other boards are connected to it, the other connectors are connected to it. You'll find that the ports are connected to the motherboard. The CPU is connected to the motherboard. The hard drives are connected to the motherboard. The floppy drive, the optical drives are connected to the motherboard. The video card is connected to the motherboard. The memory is connected to the motherboard. So you find that the motherboard is the main board, is the backbone, is that board that is critical. It's just like when a mommy is not in the home, it's not the same. All right? Just like, and I'm not biased or anything like that. I have to say the truth. When a mommy is not in the home is just it's a little bit different. All right? Because mommy make everything work or when it can't work. I mean, talking about the great mothers.
So
You
true.
understand? They already can't work, they
Amen.
make it.
True. Yeah, man.
So the mothers are a critical component of the home. All right, and I will always say that. I don't say it with any water at my mouth. Mothers are critical components of the home. Fathers are critical components of the home. But just like the processor is critical, without the processor, the motherboard serves no purpose to everything else. It's just without the mother and father at the home, it's a different, but mothers makes a item different when they are there. Because we know that when there's a tear on the pants, something will happen. And when we don't have nothing to cook, they will find something to cook. We don't get it from. But give thanks to mothers. It is a printed circuit board, and we call it a printed circuit board because we see all these tracks and all these things look like threads on it and lanes and lines and so on it. They are circuits, microcircuits, thousands of them on the board. All right? And they are called buses. They contain electrical signal and move them from left to right or around and from different components to the next. That's what the motherboard does. It's a printed circuit board. All right? And it interconnect electronic components. These components may be soldered directly to the motherboard or added to the motherboard using sockets or expansion slots or ports. And when we talk about ports, we're talking about like the keyboard, the USB ports. All right? Those ports we're talking about. All right, so looking at the motherboard up front and see some of the components on it. The major components on a motherboard include the CPU, the memory. All right, so when you talk about, you have two types of memory on the motherboard, by the way. All right, can we differentiate the two types of memory? Anybody know the difference with the two types of memory that is on the motherboard? Come on, class member, you can't be wrong. So we have the random access memory, which is the memory that you buy downtown and put in your on your and in the computer for it to be faster, according to some people.
And then
And
you
then
have the expansion.
then you have the read-only memory, right? The ROM. So you have RAM and you have ROM. RAM is random access memory that is volatile, meaning it is only valid when the computer is on. Once the computer is off, it empties itself. All right, that's called volatile. So when there's no power, nothing is there. And the read-only memory, that information can only be read. You don't add anything to it, and it is there whether it is non-volatile. It is there whether the computer is on or not. All right, so that's it. So you have the expansion slots, and these are the expansion slots right here. So if you look at my mouse, all right, and these are where you put the data boards. Data boards are put inside here, expansion slots. All right, and you have the random access memory slots, and there they are. This is it, these tall one right here. Don't mix them up with the expansion slots. We will discuss them in further down. And we have the chipset. All right, so the chipset is right here. They does the calculation, the memory caching, and they do a whole lot of work, the chipset. All right, they have the basic input output system, which is a BIOS, which is ROM. All right, that is your ROM, ROM. All right, and you will see your BIOS. Let me show where is it, right here. All right, it's your BIOS chip, or UEFI. We say just short UFI chip. And you have the SATA connectors. That's where you connect your hard, your SATA hard drive to those. All right, and you have your internal USB connector. All right, like you can see them right here, and you see some right here. These are the external USB connectors down at the back here. All right, and then you have the internal one that's here. All right, so all of those are connected to the motherboard. So that's why the motherboard is important. All right, so let's talk about the chipset. All right, the chipset consists of the integrated circuits on the motherboard that control how system hardware interacts with the CPU and the motherboard. All right, and most chipsets consist of the following two types. It has the North bridge and it has the South bridge. All right, so what you need to know, which is very important, you must know, North bridge controls high-speed access to the memory and to the video card. All right, high-speed access to the memory, which is the RAM, and video card. Okay, then you have the South bridge. All right, so none is more important than the other. All right, it's just their responsibilities differ. All right, the South bridge allows the CPU to communicate with slower speed devices, including the hard drives, the USB ports, and the expansion slots. All right, and the expansion slot may consist of the network card and other cards that are there. All right, so you will have video card, the video card also, you know, like the graphics adapter card, and you will have network cards also. Those cards, any cards that you put inside those expansion slots, they will allow those cards to communicate with the CPU. All right, so just remember North bridge and South bridge. All right, they are the chipsets, and their difference is one control high-speed access to the RAM and video card. All right, and the South bridge allows the CPU to communicate with slower speed devices, and some devices that are slower speed, the hard drive, the USB ports, expansion slots. Any question, class? I want to make sure you guys are understanding. Okay. If you have any questions, you ask as we go along, all right? Motherboard form factor. The form factor of motherboards pertain to the size and shape of the board. You know, remember we talk about the physical style and look and shape? It's the same thing with the form factor of the motherboard. Now we have to keep in mind that the motherboard form factor also coincides with the case form factor. And why would that be so? Class? Anybody? Anybody want to try that? Why would the motherboard form factor and the case form factor go hand in hand? Why do they coincide with each other? It's one of the things. Can you just tell me? Try, man. Remember, you know, you can't be wrong.
So,
Okay, so
based on the size of the device.
well, yes, one. Yes, that is also a portion of it. Anybody else want to try? All right, so one other thing is, imagine you build a very small computer case. It means that the motherboard form factor, which is the shape and size, will have to fit into it, right? Right, class?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Good. So that is correct. You have to fit in there. So the motherboard form factor and the case, they have to work together, right? So take for instance, do you think you can take a regular desktop motherboard and place it in a laptop?
No.
No,
All right, so
so
the form factor differs there. All right. So where it says now, the choice of motherboard form factor determines how individual components attached to it, the type of power supply required, and the shape of the computer case. All right, so need to know that case and motherboard goes tandem, but not only that, power supply and the components also, because you wouldn't be putting a very large heatsink and fan in a motherboard, in a laptop. Okay. All right, so there are three common motherboard form factors. You have the advanced technology extended. We talk about that as it relates to the power supply, just the same, the ATX. You have the micro ATX, which is the micro advanced technology extended, and you have the ATX. All right, and we're going to discuss them right here. If you look at the form factor, let me show you my screen. Form factor and description right here. So you have the ATX, and I want you to pay attention to the size. You have the ATX form factor, that's for the motherboard. It's 12, hey there? It's 12 inch by 9.6 inch. That's the case. All right. You have smaller footprint than the ATX, which is the micro ATX. That is 9.6 times 9.6. That is a square. All right. Then you have one that is even smaller, which is the mini ITX. That is 6.7 inches times 6.7 inches. And then you have one which is a little bigger, which is the ITX. And sometimes people mix them up and say it's you have micro ITX and mini ITX. So the bigger one they will say is a micro ITX, which is the 8.5 inches times 7.5 inches. Those are the sizes of those form factor. All right, and we'll have the slides to look on, and we go through it. For those who have logged into their their academy site, we will soon get to do some quizzes. By the way, we normally take a 15-minute break, like at about, what time is it, by the way? Let's see. Yeah. So as we normally finish class at 8:30, we normally take a 15-minute break at 7 o'clock. We start late this evening, we start after 6. So we're gonna go up to 7:30. We'll take a 5-minute break this evening, and then from there on we'll take a 15-minute break. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay. But where do we log in to do that quiz, you say?
for NetAcad. Once you log into Net Academy, I'm gonna go to NetAcad and show you how to do it. All right.
All
So
right.
we just continue and then we do it on screen. So other components is a CPU. All right. What is a CPU? The Central Processing Unit. It is responsible for interpreting and executing commands. All right. The CPU is a small microchip that resides within the CPU package. All right, so with the small microchip that resides in the CPU package. And the CPU socket is the connection between the motherboard and the processor, or you say between the motherboard and the CPU. All right, and we're going to talk about the different kind of connections. The modern CPU socket and processor package are built in the following architectures. All right, it says modern because back in the days it was a little bit different. All right, so you have the pin grid array, PGA. Take note of these terms, it's important. All right, the pins are on the underside of the processor package. All right, and it is inserted into the motherboard CPU socket. So the pin grid array, just like it says, it has some pins, all right? Some studs are pinned on it and they are inserted into a socket. It is made with holes to receive all these pins that we are looking at right here. All right, PGA, that's why it's called a pin grid array. Then you have the LAN grid array, right? The pins are in the socket instead of on the processor. Let me explain. The pins are on the motherboard. They are built onto the motherboard in that socket that is on the motherboard instead of on the processor. So that when you look at the processor, the underside of the processor, you won't see any pins. So just like this one here that has the pin on it at the top, for the LGA, if you turn it like this, upside down and look on the underside, you won't see any pin. The pin would have been on the motherboard. See at the bottom here, giving an example. Do you understand what I'm saying, class? Right, okay, good.
Right.
So you can give me a thumbs up if you don't want to talk, or you can let me know that you understand, all right? So just take into consideration, take in mind, put it in your mind, keep it right there. PGA, LGA. All right, LAN grid array, no pins on the
All right.
processor.
And you
All
said we
right,
and you said we will receive these information via WhatsApp to have permanently.
the WhatsApp group. As long as you have given the telephone numbers to the school, correct telephone numbers, I'm going to put them in my phone, create a WhatsApp group, and I'm going to send it to the WhatsApp group.
All right,
All
lovely.
right. All right. Cooling systems. Computer components perform better when kept cool, like anything at all, even the human being. When you're kept cool, you perform better. When you're dehydrated, hot, and overeating, I'm talking as a person, as a human being, then your performance is not good. Optimal performance for human has to be at the correct temperature. If you are too cold, you can't perform, and if you are too hot, you won't be able to perform. All right, the computer need coolness to perform. All right, computers are kept cool using active and passive cooling solutions. All right, active solutions require power while passive solutions do not. I'm going to talk about the difference. Passive solution for cooling usually involve reducing the speed at which the component is operating or adding its things to the computer chips. So there are two ways that we can reduce heat using the passive solution or the passive cooling method, all right? That is reduce the speed at which it is operating. You understand? So when a person, for those who will understand this case, this term, when a person said they are overclocking their processor, overclocking the computer, It means they are putting the processor to work harder. And if it is going to work harder, then it's going to overeat. You understand? It's going to generate a whole lot of heat. And if it is not being cooled efficiently or optimally, what is going to happen is that that processor is going to be burned up anytime soon, and then you need a new one. We'll need a replacement. All right. So to keep the component cool, we can reduce the speed at which it is operating, or we add heat sinks to it. So when you look inside the computer, you'll find that you'll have on some components that generate heat, you will see a heat sink on it. And on some, you will see a heat sink and the fan. All right, because the heat sink is not cooling adequately. So the fan is there to pull away the heat from the heat sink. All right. So the fan is active. All right. So a case fan is considered to be active cooling. All right. So you use a case fan, you use a fan in the power supply, and you use a fan also on the CPU. Those are active cooling. It pulls away or dissipates heat. It pulls away heat from the component. All right. In terms of the case fan, it pulls the heat out of the case to the outside. The power supply pulls the heat out of the power supply to the outside also. And the processor fan pulls the heat away from or off the processor so that the processor can operate optimally at a cooler temperature. Any questions, class? Any questions? Any questions?
None from me.
Okay, so types of
No, sir.
memory. Types of memory. A computer might use different types of memory chips. All right, all memory chips store data in the form of bytes. All right, and we should understand bits and bytes. All right, what is the difference between a bit and a byte? Can someone tell me?
A bit would be higher.
No. Can somebody else try? But that is good. Can somebody
Much
else
smaller
try?
than a byte.
Yeah, a bit is much smaller than a byte. Yes. All right, so let me tell you now. A bit is one. All right. 8-bit make a byte. Can you remember that? 8-bit makes a byte. All right. So when you talk about a byte, you're talking about 8 bits. All right. So a byte is a block of 8 bits stored as either 0 or 1 in the memory chip. All right. So we talk about 0 when we talk about binary. All right. And so I'm not going to try and confuse your mind. We don't get there as yet. So, but just to let you know. All right. So one, when I talk about ones or 0, we're talking about a bit. And 8 of either or 8 of multiple is called a byte. Okay. Read-only memory, which we talked about a couple slides ago, such as the RAM chip, random access memory, which is a temporary working storage for data, which I told you it's called volatile memory, where when the computer is booted, you start to load the operating system, everything loads into RAM. Everything loads into RAM. For your ROM, it will store the basic input, output information for your computer as it relates to the components on the motherboard. All right. And the RAM will store all your data and programs that are being accessed by the CPU when the computer is on. RAM is volatile memory. Volatile memory did that when the computer is off, this RAM empties itself. Adding more RAM in a computer enhances the system performance. All right. However, the maximum amount of RAM that can be installed is limited by the motherboard. So each motherboard you will know by specifications on the motherboard what amount or the maximum amount of RAM that can be added to the motherboard. So you can think of the RAM as an highway. The wider, the more lanes you have on the highway, the more traffic you can move faster. But when you have one single lane for the highway with the same amount of traffic, then you're going to have a serious traffic jam. So everything going to move slow. You won't get maximum you won't get proper performance. All right. So if you can think of that, in a crowded area, you move slower because the space is small. If you widen the space, then you move freer, perform better. All right. Types of RAM. All right. You have read-only memory, and which is RAM, and the different types of read-only memories are RAM chips, which mean read-only RAM, read-only memory. Then you have PROM chip, which is programmable read-only memory. You have EPROM chips, which are electronically programmable read-only memory. Then you have EEPROM chips, which is electronically erasable programmable read-only memory. All right? All right, so you will remember those. You have different types of RAM, which is a volatile memory. All right, you have random, remember that you have RAM mean random access memory. Just remember when we talk about volatile memory, we talk about random access memory. So the different types of random access memories are, you have the dynamic RAM, which is dynamic random access memory. You have the static RAM, which is static random access memory. You have the SDRAM, or I should have given that. You have the DRAM, then you have the SRAM, which is static. Then you have SDRAM, which is synchronous dynamic random access memory. You have the double data rate, synchronous dynamic RAM. And these are what you guys might, well, they probably don't too aware of this one here. It's called DDR SDRAM, which is double data rate. DDR stands for double data rate, and static dynamic RAM. Sorry, synchronous dynamic RAM. Then you have DDR2. Very sure you guys must be familiar with some of these terms, right? You have the DDR2, which stands for double data rate 2, version 2, synchronous dynamic RAM, which is, then you have the DDR3, which is version 3 of the DDR, and that is the same thing, you know, but it's DDR3. Then you have DDR4. This is what is very popular on the market now, and it is version 4 of the DDR. And then you have GDDR, synchronous dynamic RAM, which is becoming very popular and is used also by servers and so forth. Memory modules. So we'll talk about memory modules. All right. Memory chips are soldered, or we can say the word solder, to a circuit board to create a memory module. All right, which is placed into a memory slot on the motherboard. There are different types of memory modules, and they are the DIP. All right, you have the SIM. I will tell you them all about single inline memory module. You have the DIMM, double inline memory module. You have the SODIMM, and SODIMM is used for a laptop. All right, you have the, and then you have the speed of memory as being, and if you look at the bottom here, you see the pictures. If you look at my screen right here, you see the pictures of the different module. All right, so you have the speed of memory as a direct impact on how the data processor can process in a given period of time. All right. Let me read that again for those who didn't hear, and if you want to ask a question on that one. The speed of memory has a direct impact on how much data a processor, which is they're talking about the CPU, can process in a given period of time. Right? The fastest memory is typically static RAM, which is used as cache memory, and we will explain that. All right, cache memory is when you have memory being stored and then you get information stored and issued. All right. All right. The three most common types of cache memory are L1 cache, L2 cache, and L3 cache. All right. The L1 cache is integrated into the CPU. The L2 cache was originally mounted on the motherboard. Back in days, you will see it. All right, and it would also be labeled, but now it is integrated into the CPU. The L3 cache, those come and serve as an iron workstation, and you will see those CPUs are what they use. As I said, they come in the CPU, integrated in the CPU, and they are on iron workstation, super workstation, you'll say, and server CPUs, those powerful CPUs, all right? So lots of information is stored and pushed out quickly, all right? Making the CPU efficient. Any questions? All right,
No,
so
sir.
if everything that we do, like humans do error, just the same way physical devices that we made make error. All right, and so the computer is known different. We'll have errors from time to time. All right, but we will know that the errors are so minuscule in comparison to the great efficient task that the computer provide for us. We don't even recognize the errors unless it is causing us to be inefficient. Memory errors occur when the data is not stored correctly in the memory chips. All right. So what you need to know is that the computer uses different methods to detect and correct data errors in memory. So sometimes these errors are corrected before we even realize it. All right. Different types of error checking methods are made into these memory chips. The processor know how to execute them. You understand? The motherboard, remember all the components work in unison, they work together. You understand? So these memories, when they occur, they are corrected before you can figure it out, before it even come to you. All right, so the different types of error checking methods include non-parity. All right, and non-parity is a term, right, in how the data is stored in the memory. As a non-parity memory does not check errors in memory. That just pass the information on to you. Nobody check nothing. All right, so when there are no parity, it's just a straight bits coming in. You don't have any space to check nothing. Just a straight byte coming in and it passing it to you, to the processor to do what it needs to do, to present the information on screen to you, or to send the information to somewhere else. For parity, it contains 8 bits, which is 1 byte, and for data, and then it will have 1 bit for error checking. So you'll find that it comes over with 9 bits, right? And that 1 bit is instruction to check for error. All right, and if there's any error, then it will check for it and correct it. All right, then you have the error correction code, ECC. So when you buy memory, you will see the memory will come with these features, either it is with parity, non-parity, or it is ECC, error correction code. All right, ECC memory can detect multiple bit errors in memory and correct a single bit error in memory. So listen to what it says. It can detect multiple bit errors, more than one bit. All right, can have errors, and it can detect the multiple bit errors in memory and correct single bit errors in memory. So if it is one, it can correct it. All right, so that is a feature, or you call it error checking method, that is made into these memory modules, memory chips, so that it can detect and correct errors before you know it. Those that comes with non-parity, these memory modules are normally faster because they don't check for anything. They just pass the information to you. They don't care. It's not inquisitive like some people do. You understand? So you just pass the information, not breaking it down and try to put it in any words. Just pass it to you. Then you have parity or inquisitive. You have an additional bit to check for error, to make sure that the information you get is correct. You understand? And then you have the error checking code memory, which can detect multiple issues with the conversation and correct as it go along. Any question, class? We're going to take a 5-minute break so you can go use the bathroom, you can drink some water, and we will come back at 7:36.
Excuse me, Mr. Dawkins.
Yes, sir.
I came on 7 o'clock. My phone was giving me some problem. The app, the WebEx app, it was freezing up. I even have to uninstall it and install it. I came after being jumping out and coming back in a few times. So this is where I actually caught the class. So I don't know if I missed out on anything major as yet. That I
Yes, we
might
have
have to go back
started.
home.
We started it out a little after 6. Started late. We're finishing at 8:30. Yes, you missed. We're on slide 30. What is that? 5 or something like that. So we are halfway through the class, this chapter. So it's not bad, but we have the recording. It should be up by tomorrow. You can go for the recording. I will also send the slide in our WhatsApp group, so you can go over it by yourself. All right.
Oh, okay. So the WhatsApp group has already been created.
No, it has not been created as yet. I'm going to create it later. I'm going to add everybody's numbers and then create the group.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So at 7:36, we will resume. 3 minutes from now. Welcome, everyone. Is everyone back?
Sorry, back.
I'm here.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have adapter cards. Adapter cards. And these are the functionality. Adapter cards increase the functionality of a computer by adding controllers for specific devices or by replacing malfunctioning ports. And what do I mean? So we can have a malfunction port, could be the network card, which is a NIC, network interface card, or it could be the video card, video adapter card. Those that are on the motherboard could be malfunctioning, defective, or whatever reason. Then you have those cards are put into the computer on the motherboard used via the expansion slot to function and or to replace the malfunctioning ports that were on the motherboard. Just like the sound cards also, and it can be the USB card or whatever card. All right. So common adapter cards include sound adapter. All right, that's where you plug into the expansion slot, play music. You can have music output to speakers, to headphone, to whatever device you want it to. And you can also input sound into your computer through the sound card using a mic and your line in cable. And then you have a network interface card, commonly known as the NIC. You have the wireless NIC. You know the NIC stands for network interface card. You have the video adapter or display adapter. You have the capture card. Capture card is, you use to capture video, like, when you're doing video recording, and you put a video capture card inside the computer so that when you're video recording, that video is captured onto the computer and can be outputted somewhere else or stored on the computer. You have the TV tuner card, very popular back in the day, and I think it still is, where you put that card inside the computer and you can also plug on your cable onto it and you can watch TV on your computer. All right. Universal serial bus, USB controller card, and that will be if you want to add additional USB ports to your computer, or the ones that you have on the motherboard are defective and so you are using it as a replacement. You have the eSATA card, external SATA, and that card is used if you want to add additional hard drive external to the one that are inside the case of a computer. All right, any question?
Sir.
Any question? Okay.
Yes, sir. What's the difference between the video card and a graphics card? The same thing?
It's the same thing.
Okay.
Is that you have accelerated graphics card, like, and you have some SVGA cards, and you have some IM video cards. Those comes with its own processor and memory. So for those who are doing like gaming and doing some high video outputs like video editing, and or you are doing some high resolution Photoshop, so you want to make sure you have your colors, your resolution way up. You understand? So
Yes.
those are the same card, but they have the higher end one. All right. So computers, going back into it now, computers have expansion slots on the motherboard to install adapter cards, and the type of adapter cards connector must match with the expansion slots. All right, so we're going to talk about the different expansion slots now. You have the peripheral component interconnect. All right. All right, so I could tell you that before the PCI slot, which is the first one, the peripheral component interconnect, before that slot used to have a slot that was called the ISA slot, ISA, Industry Standard Architecture. All right, it's in the olden days. All right, it's a black slot. Okay, and then it was upgraded to the EISA, we call it the ESA. That was the extended, all right, industry standard architect slot. Then you come in with a faster one, which is called the PCI slot, which is the peripheral component interconnect. And that one is denoted by the color white. Most times you see the PCI slot, it is white. So if you look at the picture here, you see this slot you're looking at, it's definitely a PCI slot. All right. Then you have the mini PCI, which is just half of a PCI. You have the PCI extended, which is the PCI X, which is a longer version of the PCI, and we will explain the different type of the length and the shortness as we move along. And then you have the PCI Express, all right, which is a faster one, faster PCI slot. all right, that comes like either black or brown these days. Then you have the riser card. The riser card is a card that is plugged into one of the slots, either PCI or PCI Express slot, and it comes with its own PCI slots to put in other PCI cards. So the riser card would be a data board, just like a video adapter, and the data board with to the motherboard, and will have also different adapter cards connected to it. Any questions, guys? I know I'm saying a whole lot of stuff here. If you have any question to ask, ask as we go along. Then you have the accelerated graphics port. Now this one is only for video cards. It's called the AGP port. All right, so we have the SVGA. Back in the days, it was the VGA port. Video graphics adapt. All right, then you have the SVGA, which comes with a high resolution. And that was back in the day that when you have a SVGA, you know, you have high resolution. That was a super video, you understand? And then you have the, come right after that, you have the AGP, which is a game changer. The AGP was a real game changer. So all the gamers and those who want to have high video watching movies and those stuff, you will want an AGP card. All right? And the AGP stands for Accelerated Graphic Port. It's normally brown. All right, it's normally brown, and it is, you will notice it when we start to describe it and show you what it like, you will notice it when you see it in a motherboard. All right? Any questions, class? Types of storage devices. Now, data drives provide non-volatile storage data. Now, you have to understand the different terms. So when you talk about volatile and non-volatile, can you explain the difference? Can anybody tell me the difference of non-volatile and volatile? All right, class, because I did say it earlier when you're talking about RAM, read-only memory, and RAM, random access memory. And I talk about volatile and non-volatile. What's the difference? Anybody remember?
One is always on the computer, always accessible, always there, and the other one erases when the computer turns off.
Okay. So when it is non-volatile, when there is no power, that data is still there. All right? You don't lose that data when power goes out, when it is non-volatile. When it is volatile, once power goes out, that information goes out too. You know, like some of us unruly children, the parents said to us, don't leave the house, no mama, no papa. But as soon as they go through the gate, they're not even getting at the taxi yet. And if them drive, they're not even come off of the lane yet. Them go out and you out too. So those are the volatile devices, volatile storage, volatile type of component. Don't store anything. You tell them nothing, as soon as power gone, them gone too. Everybody understand that? That analogy?
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
So
sir.
when your parents with the power go through the gate, you go through the gate too. And you're not staying home because they're not their home. The volatile media, meaning when power gone, everything gone. It needs power and it don't return. And let me make sure I tell you, when power go, it gone, but it gone permanently, you know, come back, you have to start it again. You get me? All right. So some drives have fixed media and others have removable media. Just remember that data drives provide non-volatile storage data. All right. Random access memory is a storage medium also, but it provides volatile storage. All right. Now, data storage devices can be classified according to the media on which the data is stored. All right. So we have different type of medium. We have the magnetic, and that is like the hard drive and the tape drive. I don't know if anyone of you guys familiar with the tape drive. It's still being used today, believe it or not. Back in the days, for those who know, tape deck used to use cassette. You know, most of you guys, I don't know how old most of you are, but you probably are the new breed and don't know what is a cassette, don't know what a tape deck look like. And also, you probably don't even know what a video cassette look like. So back in the days, a video cassette, a cassette, that an audio cassette, those are magnetic media. We still use the magnetic tapes now for archiving of large amount of data. All right. And then you have solid state drive. All right. Solid state drive is what we call it SSD. They are new, nice technology, and they are very fast. They don't have any movable parts. They are like flash drive. You understand? And they store a whole lot, and they are electronically written devices. Storage is electrical, data is electronically written to the SSD. And then you have the optical drive. And anybody, we know what optical mean, right? Can you say what optical mean? When we talk about optical, we're talking about what? Come on, class, don't let me feel alone.
AD wrong.
Yeah, but when we talk about optical, what we talking about? Optical. When we talk about optical, we're talking about light. Okay, light. When we talk about optical, we're talking about light. Okay.
All right.
Storage device interfaces. Storage device is inside the computer connect to the motherboard using the serial AT attachment, otherwise called a SATA connector. Before the SATA connector, you used to have, they call it the legacy now because it's the older version. Legacy interface, they call it the PATA, P-A-T-A, and some people might refer to it as IDE, and the newer upgraded version of the IDE is the EIDE. So it's the same thing when I talk about PATA, parallel AT attachment. So the interface, we call it the IDE interface. Okay? The interface standards define the way the data is transferred. I wanted to get this class, I wanted to listen. All right. The interface standards define the way that data is transferred, the transferred rates and physical characteristics of the cables and connectors. So these interface standards, they differ. The cable and the connectors are different and the transfer rates are different. They are defined by the way the cable, the attachment, and the transfer rate. All right? The cables and connectors are the same, but the transfer speed are different as it relates to the SATA standards. So you have different versions of SATA. All right, you have 3 versions of SATA currently. You have the SATA 1, you have the SATA 2, and you have the SATA 3. All right, and even though there are different versions, the cable looks the same. All right, and the connectors are the same. The only difference is that the transfer speeds are different. Can anyone say which one of them will have the highest transfer speed of the SATA? I'm talking for the SATA version.
3.
SATA 3.
SATA 3, correct. SATA 3 is the latest version and definitely it has the highest transfer rate. All right. So if you look at the table, you will realize that the pattern, the parallel, the IDE or the EIDE, if you look at the transfer rate, you realize that these are back in the really old days. All right, 16.6 megabits per second, man, that is long time. And let me tell you, when it was 16.6 megabits per second, that was fast. We used to have an interface at standard calls, well, it's still existing, SCSI, which was faster than the EIDE. And it was no way comparison to 1.5 GB then. All right. So you must know what we are coming from and where we are. So you guys are reaping the fruits of hard labor. Don't know where we come from. All right. So that's the table. I want you to go over it when you get the slide, understand the differences. Magnetic media storage. So we talk about magnetic media storage. This type of storage represents binary values as magnetized or non-magnetized physical errors in a magnetic media. Okay, so when we are storing data electronically, it is always binary. Always remember that it will always be binary. But these binary can be stored differently. It can be magnetized, it could be stored as light, and it can be stored electronically. You understand me? So when you're using the magnetic media storage, the binary values will be magnetized. All right. Common types of magnetic media storage drives. You have the hard disk drive, the traditional hard drive that we used to. I don't know if you guys used to. I don't know why you guys use it because most of the young people nowadays, they don't want to go for the stuff, that stuff. But in your regular computer, most time it is a magnetic hard drive, magnetic disk. Right, with storage capacity ranging from gigabytes to terabytes. Back in the early days, it was kilobytes to megabytes. But you guys don't even know that. So you get gigabytes to terabytes. Then you have the tape drives. All right? You have the tape drives, which often used for archiving. I'm not mentioning it. And these are used in large corporation, organization, or those places. So you find them in banks. You understand, large organizations. So when you're backing up information, archiving data, you want to archive everything that was done today, which is a whole lot. And it probably can't fit on one hard drive because you might have to get 10 hard drives. So you will use the tape drives. All right, tape drives are used as magnetic read-write head, removable tape cartridges. All right, common tape storage capacity varies between a few gigabits to many terabytes. And that's why for archiving, they opt to use tape drives. All right, class, don't forget that. Everybody understand what I'm saying? Give me a thumbs up, class. I want to know that you are learning.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Trying to explain as much as I can, so I want you to give me feedback so I can know what's going on. That's why I keep asking any questions. All right, so you can go ahead and don't be afraid to ask any question. So we have the semiconductor storage. All right, the solid state drives. These are the newest on the market. Solid state drives store data as electric charges, which I was explaining, just like your flash drive or in semiconductor flash memory. All right.
The voice went out just now. I didn't.
You didn't hear me, Tevin? Or Tevin, can you hear me? I'm hearing. You hearing me now? Everybody hearing me?
Yes,
Is
sir.
everyone hearing me? Okay. All right. All right. Just want to make sure you guys still hearing me. All right. If I have the chat up, if you can't hear me, just type it in the chat so I will see. All right. All right. So because of how data is stored and retrieved regarding SSD, it makes SSDs much faster than magnetic hard drive. All right. And more, what you need to know is that SSD doesn't have any moving parts. It's totally electronics. The semiconductor flash is just like a flash drive. So it's very fast and very efficient, and it rarely overheats. All right. SSD have no moving parts, make no noise, more energy efficient, and produce less heat than regular hard drive. And that is the reason why you, let me not say reason, that is the reason you find that people are moving towards semiconductor storage, which are SSDs, or especially when you are installing the operating system, you want to have it on the SSD, chances are that hard drive crashing is almost nil. SSDs come in three form factors. You have the disk form factor, which is the one that looks like a hard drive. It shapes like a hard drive. All right. As it says, similar to an hard drive, they have the expansion slots. The one that expansion card looking one. It plugs into an expansion card, and you will see one right here. This is it in the lower right hand corner. All right, the one that looked like the hard drive form factor, here it is. At the top, it looks like a laptop hard drive, which is a 2.5-inch hard drive. And it uses a serial interface, which is a SATA interface. You notice the 512 GB right here. Then you have the expansion slot one. This is the one right here, bottom right hand corner. All right. And then you have the M-SATA. All right, or the M.2 module. These packages may use a special socket. All right, you will see them. I see them. They are becoming very, very common now on the more expensive motherboards. All right, the M.2 socket. The standard for computer. M.2 is a standard for computer expansion cards, and here it is right here. So it seems like a cartridge. It just fits on the motherboard. All right. Any question, class? Okay. All right. Semiconductor storage continuing. The non-volatile memory express. That is another storage device. All right. And it's a semiconductor. It's a SSD. All right. So this year, it was developed specifically to allow computers to take greater advantage of the features of SSDs by providing a standard interface between SSD and the PCI bus and the operating system. All right, so it looks like one of those. It almost looks like a memory. All right, it looks like a memory. So there's a slot and it fits into the slot like a memory. So it's a NVMe, which is a non-volatile memory express. Just remember that the E stands for express and NVM stands for non-volatile memory. So the non-volatile memory express allows compliant SSD drives to attach to the PCIe bus without requiring special drivers. So you will put that into the expansion, the PCI Express slot on the motherboard, and it will just work. All right, because they made it compliant, they make it like that to work in those expansion slots. All right, so let me go back. So this is one of the NVMe Express. All right, it fits inside one of the PCI slots and it just works. All right, solid state hybrid drive. Now these are regular, well, let me not use the word regular. These are hard drives, magnetic hard drives. Notice the word hybrid. These are magnetic hard drives with a SSD on it. All right, so it's called solid state hybrid drives. All right, SSDs are a compromise between a magnetic hard drive and the SSD. So if you have the regular looking hard drive, there's a magnetic disk inside there. However, on that circuit board of that hard drive, there is like a flash drive, right? But it's a SSD, and it is built onto the motherboard, sorry, the circuit board of the hard drive. And what it does is store energy there, store data there, and move it. It can move it to transfer from the hard drive to the motherboard as quickly as SSD, making these SSHDs faster than regular hard drive. All right, let me go over that again. Your regular, this SSHD, as it says, solid state hybrid drive, right? It's one of those hard drive, regular looking hard drive with the magnetic disk inside there. I probably should explain what the hard drive looked like earlier, but it's going to be coming up in the chapter. And the regular hard drive, let me go back to, this is a regular hard drive, and this is a magnetic disk right here. This is how it looks, all right? This is the inside of the regular hard drive. Good. And when it is covered, on the other side, the underside of this hard drive, there's a circuit board. All right. On that circuit board, there is a memory chip, an SSD chip that is soldered onto that board, and it stores data. When data comes there, it stores it there, and when they try to retrieve it, when the user tries to retrieve it, the processor read it to that area first. So that information will move to the user from the processor to the motherboard. It moves across the buses faster than if it's reading from the magnetic storage. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you went out for a minute, Tevin. You went out for a minute there. I wasn't seeing or hearing anything.
Okay.
It's still on the volatile.
What was the last thing you guys heard from me?
Can you repeat that, please?
What was the last thing everybody heard from me? Did I went out for everyone?
No, you didn't. I've been hearing you.
Okay. All right, Kevin, that could be your connection. That could be your connection, Kevin. Anyhow, as I was saying, and that's how the SSD hybrid drive works. It comes with mute. Can you mute your computer? All right, so that's how it works. All right, so they are faster than the hard drive, but less expensive than an SSD. So it's a combination. So for those who cannot afford a full out or full-blown SSD, can buy a SSHD. All right, they combine magnetic hard drive with an onboard flash memory, serving as a non-volatile cache. All right, so when we talk about cache, we're talking about storage, temporary storage. All right, like like you are moving sand from a particular location. You want to get it on the rooftop, so you take it up from off the road and you put it in some bucket, and somebody take it out of the bucket and bring it upstairs, because it's easier to take from out the bucket and put it upstairs. So the bucket will serve as a cache. All right, so that's what it is when I say a cache. All right, the word is cache. See, not cache, it's cache. All right. Typical types of optical storage devices. Optical drives are removable drives. And remember, we talk about optical. When we talk about optical, can you remind me what we're talking about? What is the media or the medium? What is the medium for optical drives?
Light.
Correct, light. Optical drives are removable media storage devices that uses laser to read and write data on optical media. All right, these were developed to overcome storage capacity limitations. And what that means is that floppy disk, they were magnetic drives and they couldn't hold the large amount of data. You understand? And so they developed the optical disk, which could hold a whole lot more data or store more on it. So when we talk about optical storage devices, we are talking about the CD, which is short for compact disc. We're talking about the DVD, which is short for digital versatile disc. Talking about Blu-ray disc, well, the short for that is BD, and you have the HD digital video data. All right, so you have different storage capacities as it relates to DVD and Blu-ray. You have some can hold 2 gig, 1 gig, 4 gig, and then you have the double layer that hold up to 7 gigabytes. As for DVD, and Blu-ray holds a whole lot more. Any questions? Everybody should know about DVDs and know about Blu-rays and CDs also. All right, so I don't have to speak about the old days because you guys come and know about these. They talk about the CD, DVD, and BD media can be pre-recorded, and those are called read only. So don't worry about the term pre-recorded. They're talking about read only. And can somebody tell me what it means when they say read only? Come on, class.
Means it
I'm
can't be
feeling alone.
edited or modified.
Correct. It can't be edited or modified. You only can read it. All right. And you have you have the recordable. Do you know what is the recordable? Do we understand what I mean? What is recordable? Anybody? All right, so let me tell you, when it is recordable, it means that you can write something to it. All right? One time though, only one time when it is recordable. All right? And then you have rewritable. All right? You have rewritable or re-recordable. What that means, you can write to it multiple times. You understand? You can read from it and write to it multiple times. That's why it's called rewritable. So when the DVD guys downtown selling shows and DVDs, they are using which one? They are using which one? Because they are writable, right? In one time. Which one are they using?
Recordable.
Recordable, that's correct. All right, but when you want to copy it on a DVD multiple times, you know, because listen, DVD, you don't want to use a flash drive because people easily steal flash drive. I mean, I'm just finding a reason right there. And you buy a rewritable be Blu-ray or DVD. You buy a rewriter because they want to record it multiple times. They can save one movie today, tomorrow add the next one to it. You can take out that movie there tomorrow and put on the next one. And you do that for multiple times until that DVD mash up. That is called rewritable. All right. DVD and BD media can also be single layer or dual layer, which I mentioned earlier. Dual layer media roughly doubles the capacity of a single disc. All right, so if you look at the screen here, it will explain what you're. If you look at the screen here, it will give you an idea of the size and so forth. So if you look at DVD-R, which is a recordable, you understand? You have 4.7 gig. All right, when it is single layer. And when it is double layer, you have 8.5 gig. You look at the Blu-ray, when it is single layer, it is 25 gig, which is a whole lot. When it is dual layer or double layer, it is 50 gig, right? Any questions, class? Any questions? a video port. All right, we have PC components, still video ports and cables. So if you look at the pictures, you can see the different ports, what they look like. All right, I'm very sure we know, we are familiar with at least 1, 2, 3 of those ports. All right, can anybody just look at my screen and tell me which one of the ports are, two of the ports you recognize, you're familiar with?
VG and HDMI.
Yeah, and the Thunderbolt 3. I'm familiar with that one.
I'm familiar
Okay, the
with the
Thunderbolt, that is
RCA. Yeah.
RCA, good. Which other one? HDMI,
HDMI,
good.
VGA, and RCA.
Okay, cool. All right, excellent. So we have a good, we are familiar with most of those. So Thunderbolt is most likely, you see that on Apple devices like that. Your MacBook most times, or you can buy that card, that adapter card and put in your computer. Most 99% of the time used to transfer video, large video files. All right. Okay, so let's talk about these ports. A video port connects a monitor to a computer using a cable. Video ports and monitor cables transfer analog signals, digital signals are both of them. And video ports and cables include the DVI, which is a digital visual interface. The display port, which we call the VGA. We have the display port, which is different. It is popular. It is used. It is common even until now. I'm trying to remember which. You guys probably won't see it, but it is commonly used even now. Then you have the HDMI, which is high definition multimedia interface, and like it says, multimedia. It is high definition multimedia that it transfers sound and video at the same time. You don't have to have a sound and a video port. You have the Thunderbolt 1 and 2, and you have Thunderbolt 3. That's the same as I said, it's used most times on the Apple devices like the MacBook, that is to transfer video at a very fast rate. You have the VGA, video graphics array card. That's one regular use to, that's the regular one that we see every day. Then you have the RCA, which is Radio Corporation of America. And RCA is also very popular. And trust me, I don't know when we're going to do away with RCA, but it is well utilized and has improved their technology over the period of time. And I guess that is the reason it's still around. Other ports and cables. So we have input and output. When you see I/O, just remember I/O means input, output. All right. So I/O ports on a computer connect peripheral devices such as printers, scanners, and portable drives. A computer may have other ports. All right. Personal. Let me tell you the other ports. If you look on the screen, you'll see ports that you probably should be familiar with. Any one of you guys familiar with the first port, the top left-hand corner port? Any one of you guys familiar with that port?
Sure.
Seen it before, but can't give any
Okay.
details.
It's called the PS2 port, and it's personal system 2. All right. That was before the USB port. All right. And before the PS2, that port is not on the screen, but I'm going to tell you, it was the serial port. All right. So before that, a mouse will come with a serial port, a serial connector, and the keyboard will come with a serial connector. All right, and after that you have the personal system, which is the PS2. All right, then you have the audio and game port. I know you guys are supposed to use to that. Most you young guys should. I mean, a lot of you guys don't do that now because you connect your HDMI cable to your gaming system, right? But you have game ports. Then you have, and I think some motherboard still comes with the game port. Then you have the network port, which is network interface card, and it comes with that RJ45 port at the end there. And this is here. So that opening is the RJ45 port. Then you have the serial AT attachment. We spoke about that. We spoke about that in slides earlier. We talked about the hard drive, and we said serial AT attachment comes in 3 different versions. And the fastest version was which version again?
The 3.
SATA 3.
Version 3. Right, SATA 3. Integrated drive electronics. We talk about the IDE, which was the first standard for transferring data from the hard drive to the motherboard. And then we talk about the upgraded, which was the EID, EIDE, and then from there we move on to SATA. So remember now, SATA stands for serial AT attachment. The IDE is the next name for the PATA. P stands for parallel. Okay? The Universal Serial Bus, USB. So everybody should know now what USB stands for. All right? And the Universal Serial Bus means that it transfers data on that bus serially for any device or any data. That's what it means. All right? For any device, any data. Universal Serial Bus. Okay? The serial device, serial connector, just the same. All right, but it is faster than the olden serial connector. All right. Adapters and converters. We're not going to finish chapter 1 today. We'll finish it next week and the chapter 2 next week. All right. So we're going to finish this evening at 8:30, and we'll finish chapter 1 and chapter 2 next week, Tuesday. Next week, Tuesday, we'll move a little faster. Tonight, it's for you to grasp the terms and understand, know the components. All right, there are many connection standards in use today. These components are called adapters and converters. All right, so you look on my screen. All right, so converter perform the same function as adapter. You have to remember this, class, it's important. Converter perform the same function as an adapter. The difference is it also translates signals from one technology to another. That's why it is a converter. All right? So it performs the same function as the adapter, but it also translates the signals from one technology to the next. The adapter now is physically connecting one technology to another. So the adapter, it connects the technology, one technology to the next. All right? But the converter translates the signals from one to the next. So I'll give you an example. All right? You have a DVI, digital video interface. We mentioned on there, so for video, and you want it to convert to VGA signal. You understand? Because VGA signal is like analog. So you use a VGA adapter, a DVI to VGA adapter, which will convert a digital to analog and give you a video. So it translates the signal from digital to analog. So it translates one signal, the signal from one technology to the next or to the other, but it's also an adapter. Do you understand that, class?
All right.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. And the physical adapter just, all it does is just connect one technology to another, the adapter. All right, so that's what it does. So the adapter will take the signal from the motherboard onto the monitor. So that's one technology to another. You get me? It's an adapter. All right, or you can call it the power supply adapter, where it converts it. You understand? It connects to the AC current, and it plugs into the DC socket. So you understand? So the adapter is an adapter plus a converter. So it converts the AC to DC. Okay? So you have USB to Ethernet, where it takes the information from the USB serial bus to the Ethernet, and it transfer that data now to Ethernet technology. So these are some adapters that are there. All right? The molex, let me go through them. So the USB to PS2 is if you have an old computer, an old keyboard, all right? You have an old keyboard, or you have a USB mouse, and the computer is old, and you want to put your USB computer onto that old computer, then you have a USB to PS2. So you connect the USB mouse to the USB part of that connector, and the PS2 part of the connector, you connect to the computer. All right, so this purple one right here, so you understand? The purple, that is for the keyboard. You understand? So you have the USB right here, and you have the PS2 end. So that is the USB right here, PS2 end. That is an adapter, USB to PS2. All right, and then you have the Molex. Molex is the original IDE hard drive to the newer version, or not with the newer version, to the newer SATA hard drive. So you'll see there. So you have the older version to the newer version. All right. Then we have the original input devices. All right, so we all know the original input devices. They're on the screen. All right, and we talk about the keyboard and the mouse. Trust me, that's normal. All right, we know those stuff. We talk about the flatbed scanner. For those who do, we talk about the ADF. ADF stands for Automatic Document Feeder. All right, and so you know, when you put on some photocopiers or some scanners, you put the paper on top of that place and press scan or copy, and it pull it through and carry it down onto the glass for you and scan it. That's the ADF. All right, the flatbed scanner is when you lift up the top and put down the paper on it and cover it up, and then you just press the button that says scan. All right, and those scanner, what they do is digitize an image or document. So you take it from hard copy and make it into soft copy onto your computer. That's what the scanner does. Just remember that. All right. I don't think I need to explain the mouse and the keyboard. All right. The joystick and the gamepad, these devices are used for playing games. So what it does is transfer physical movements into electronic signals that the computer can understand for your game. KVM switch. It's a hardware device that can be used to control more than one computer while using a single keyboard and monitor and mouse. That's why it's called a KVM. So KVM stands for keyboard, video, and mouse. Don't forget, stands for keyboard, video, and mouse. So you have one monitor, one keyboard, one mouse, and you have multiple computers. You connect them to your KVM switch, and you just switch the button for whichever computer you want to use. That's how it works. Any question, class? Any questions? We're almost there for the day.
No, sir.
We're going to do one slide after this. So we have new input devices. Some of the new input devices include touch screen, which we all love, stylus that we use on our tablet and our smartphones, magnetic strip reader. That's what we use to read our credit card. And you know, some of those guest hotel have cards. You don't have to use a piece of, you don't have to use any metal key. You just use a card to swipe it into them, and you open a door. And even at some of the business places, some of the workplaces, all right, and you have the barcode scanner, you know, that for those who work at the stores or wherever, you know, a supermarket, you don't have to put in every single price. You know, one time your finger have to fast on the cash register. You understand? So you have original people, we have original cashier. Back in the days, you used to say required for work, one cashier with experience. You know, so your fingers them have to fast. And you going to have no cashier experience, you don't get the job. Nowadays, you don't need no cashier experience. You just need to just pass the thing under the barcode scanner and you put in the price for you. You press enter and you put in the quantity and you move along. So that's what the barcode scanner is. They're going to the Chinese supermarket, the big supermarket, and them did it. Only the shop next door don't have any barcode scanner nowadays. God bless them. They don't even have cash register. They just calculate everything into them head. But we understand, class. Hello?
Yes, sir.
You are not allowed. You're not allowed to
Yes,
log
sir.
off until I close the class, all right? All right.
No?
Okay.
New input devices we just talk about. And we're going to talk about additional input devices that are new. We talk about digital camera, and we understand we digital, you know, in this the pandemic has caused the use for digital camera to really increase. We talk about Facebook Live, we talk about YouTube Live, we talk about Zoom, talk about Instagram Live, and so forth. The reason for that is these digital camera, they can input information into your device, into your computer, live or delayed. You can input them into your computer and store it, and then use it afterwards. Or you can do it live. You understand? Then you have webcams. You know, webcams is like when, what was it? When Tevin logs in this evening, you see him turn on his camera and you could see his face and see in the background. Or when I turn on my camera to show you what I look like to introduce myself, that is a webcam. Then you have signature pad. You know, like when you go to some of these highfalutin hotels or some of these places where when you swipe your credit card, you type, or even MoneyGram, let me not say highfalutin, because MoneyGram and Western Union and those money places, they use a signature pad where you use a stylus to write on it, and your signature is captured immediately and stored into the computer. So you could say your signature has become digitized. All right? Then you have the smart card reader. All right, we talk about the smart card reader, which authenticate the user. All right, so it could be a credit card, or it could be a magnetic strip card, or it could be one of those cards that uses a embedded chip on it, like the newer credit card nowadays comes with a chip, or it could be one of those cards that use RFID. You understand? So that reader reads the card. All right, so it's a device on a computer to authenticate a user. A smart card may be the size of a credit card with an embedded microprocessor that is typically on a gold contact pad on one side of the card. That is for the credit card, but as I mentioned, you have other smart cards. Microphone, a device that allows the user to speak into a computer and have their voice digitized. All right, so that's well. So it only becomes digitized when I speak into a computer, all right? And there you have the pictures on screen. So we just completed, oh my. All right, let me just finish input devices and then we are done. All right, so last slide on input devices. The newest input device include the NFC. Anybody can tell me what NFC stands for? Quickly, remember we are already out of time. We are 3 minutes over. Anybody can tell me what NFC stands for?
Near field communication.
That's right, because I was about to say it's on the screen. Near field communication is one of those technology that is around a couple of, maybe about 10 years now, and it is being used widely. You understand? On many devices, you have the facial recognition scanners, you have the fingerprint scanners, you have voice recognition scanners, and virtual reality headsets. Those use NFC, and you also have your your tablets or your phones also uses near field communication. Say for instance, because it's a short wave, it's a short distance communication. If you turn on near NFC on some devices, I'm gonna give you an example, even some printers also, and some speakers. Once you put your phone close to it and you sync it, then it's communicating and start to transfer information or to play music. All right. It is popular when you talk about the paid devices then. All right. When you go into to use your credit card to pay some stuff. All right. Then you have facial recognition scanner, device identifying user based on unique facial features. You have fingerprint scanners. We know that one work. Voice recognition scanners. Right, we know that one work. It will recognize, I think it has to do with the frequency, I'm not sure, of the voice. And then you have virtual reality headset. It's used with computer games, simulators, and training applications with virtual reality and functionalities. All right. And the pictures are there. Okay. And that's it for this evening class. When we begin next class, we'll be doing output devices. We'll complete chapter 1 and we will also complete chapter 2. All right. So when the first end of chapter quiz, the first 2 quizzes will be chapter 1 and chapter 2, because we are going to finish them next week. So we'll do those quizzes beginning next week. So guys, you are encouraged, influenced. I'm trying to put it on you. Please, you have to read over. Any question that you don't have, you don't understand, anything that you don't understand, you can ask questions. I will do the WhatsApp group tonight. I will send a PowerPoint slide for this evening into the group, and I expect you guys to read it over. I will also, what I will do, I will also create a cloud drive, and I'm going to put inside the cloud drive videos that you can watch, you know, and I will send you the link to the cloud drive so you guys will be able to download or visit that cloud drive and see those videos. All right, so I'm going to try and give you as much resources as I can, because I don't expect anybody to get under 80. All right, any questions before we close out this evening class?
No, sir.
Sir.
Yes, I have a question, but I think we can talk about that afterwards. It's regarding the Moodle platform that you were mentioning. For some reason, I can't log in. I'm not sure why.
Okay,
I guess
okay.
we can start that over another time. All right.
Yes, sir. Is the Moodle have to go and go see the recording of the class? Cause remember me tell you
Yes,
them
but
things there.
you won't see the recording tonight. You probably see it tomorrow night.
Oh yeah, cause some members me tell me miss out for majority of the class because the app there freeze on my phone.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
You can actually use a phone for log into class with attend class though.
You can use a phone to attend class. You can use a phone to attend class. However, there are times when you're required to do some stuff that the phone will not allow you to do it. All right, but you definitely can use the phone to.
Okay.
Anything else?
Oh yeah, so sir, the slides them I go send in the WhatsApp group. I can just take down my notes them from right there, so when me do miss
Yes,
out.
man.
All
You
right.
can take the notes from there. One of the thing about it we need to understand is the slides have those information on it, but the explanation,
Yeah, that me
the
yeah.
examples are
That's why
not
me do
there.
on the record.
That's what I give you, right? For the record, you get that from the recording.
All right, so I said tomorrow me can get the recording.
The recording should be up by tomorrow.
Oh, all right.
All right. So just remember now,
So all
next
the information I'll just go through tonight is like we must read over back everything,
right.
right? All of it is
Okay.
there is none that
Yes,
is more
I'm gonna do
important
it.
than some.
No, no. And listen, you see all that I gave you on this slide, you will find this and more explanation because what I didn't get to do tonight was to do the quizzes, the in chapter quizzes, because we run out of time. But next class we'll do the quizzes for chapter 1 and we'll complete chapter 2 and also do the quizzes for chapter 2 for the next class. So that's why it's important for you guys to go through this chapter now. So we're gonna and you can go through. All right, just a moment. Let me show you. All right, class. If you're not hurrying, give me another 5 minutes. I'm gonna just go through quickly. MetaCAD. Let me show you MetaCAD. I'm still logged in. All right, here it is. Hope I'm not logged out. This is what when you log into MetaCAD. For those who have not logged into MetaCAD as yet, it will come up
I'm
like
not
this.
seeing it right now though.
MetaCAD. You should get an invite
I'm
from
not
the school. Cisco. It's a Cisco invite in your email.
I'm not seeing anything on my phone screen, on my laptop screen.
All right, hold a moment. Let me share. Just a moment. I'm gonna share it. I'm sorry. I'm gonna share it. I wasn't sharing it.
Okay, I'm seeing it now.
You seeing the browser now? All right, no, hold on. I'm gonna share it now. You weren't seeing it. Where is it again? There it is. Share. All right, can I see my screen now? Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, I can. I
All
was
right, so
following
No,
actually as you went through.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
okay, good.
I'm
So
just
this
seeing a
is
circle
the
going around.
oh, your one has not come up yet. It's just because your internet is a little bit slow. All right, so the IT essentials, this is your classroom, the Cisco, and I'm going through the course as it is. If you should launch chapter 1 here, it will comes up like, okay, because I was logged out. So let me log in quickly. Content. Give me a second. I'm gonna go here. Make sure that I'm in. Just give me a second. Are you still seeing my screen?
sir.
Yes, I am.
Okay. I'm not sure if it's my device, but I'm not seeing anything right now.
Okay.
Probably trying to log in through my phone.
Okay, the internet. All right, so if for those who came to my screen, you see IT Essential, right? Version 7.02. So your class will start at chapter 1, which we just begin this evening. If you said launch chapter, it will come up like this here, right? And you just need to, you can go through the welcome if you want to. I did my own welcome, and then we click the arrow and go right into the chapter, right? Yeah, video explanation, everything there. All right. So as I said, there are some times when I'm going to do the evening class from here, from NetaCAD, and sometimes I will do it using the PowerPoint slides. All right. So let me stop the recording. What? Let us stay. All right, so sometime I will do classroom from here, but you guys, I wanted to go through the PowerPoint slide and also go through the classroom. All right, and there you go straight ahead, talk about everything. Yes, then we get to the quiz. All right, so check your understanding. These are important. I'm going to go through these next week. All right, to see whatever I thought that you guys have understanding or you have learned anything. All right, and so this is how your classroom look. It is the same information that is on the PowerPoint slide. This have some more details. All right, so here you go. That's it. All right, and when you're finished, you'll see the other stuff. So we're gonna go through the quizzes next week. All right, so I want you guys to read over so that we can do the quiz and move faster next week. All right. Any questions, class? Any questions? Any questions?
No, sir, no.
All right,
No,
so
sir, no questions.
next week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you will have 2 quizzes to do complete, chapter 1 and chapter 2. All right. All right, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. And I hope you have learned something. And we'll meet up at next class, which is Tuesday, 5:30 sharp. And I'm expecting you guys to be on before 5:30 by at least 5:28, 5:29, so that we can start at 5:30. All right? Thanks very much. Thanks for your time. Have a good one and have a good weekend. Read over, please.
Thank you, and same to you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
If you don't understand anything regarding Moodle, you can also call the school to ensure that you can log into Moodle. If you don't get a Cisco invite, call the school, tell them that you have not received an invite. If you're not getting through to the school, send me a WhatsApp because I'm going to create the WhatsApp group and I will forward your information to this institution. All right? Thanks very much. Have a good weekend, everyone.
You too. Thank you, sir. Keep safe. Bye, class.
Bye.
Bye.
My voice stuck because I can't hear. Come back from outer